Hi, writers. This week we're going to talk about writing. I'm so sorry I wasn't here yesterday. I um I was very frustrated, I have to say, thinking about our feelings. I've had a very frustrated couple of days trying to figure out how to work my technology stuff, and I realized something that I don't know if this ever happens to you, writers, but I have an iPhone. And one of the ways to solve any problems with an iPhone that I've known in the past, but I seem to forget all the time, is you just turn it off and you turn it back on, and then everything's fine. Hopefully, I will learn from this, and this will be the last time I will forget that. Anyway, writers, so we're going to talk about writing, and I want us to talk again about our feelings. And I want to really see if we can talk a little bit about how to sort of differentiate between feelings. Like, how do we know what's the difference between this feeling and that feeling, right? So I want to talk a little bit about that and then think a little bit about how we can use our writer's notebook even to figure this out. Okay, hang on one second. Okay, writers, hang on. I'm almost there. I will get us there. There we go. There's our list of feelings. So anyway, so here we go. So I was thinking about, like, sometimes we are what we think we are, where we might be something else, and that sometimes our feelings, um, be, we say one word and it really means a bunch of things. And when we recognize really what we are, what we're feeling, that can help us to deal with it a little bit better. So for example, when we look even on our list here, and I think so important to think about, right? Like, these are our sort of up feelings and our down feelings, and high energy up feelings are over here, and low energy up feelings are down here, right? High energy, low energy. So I was thinking about these two words, anger and disappointment. I mean, one is a high energy word and another is a low energy. So right there, I know that there's a difference, right? But then I was also just thinking, like, what is the difference? So one thing to think about is that oftentimes what brings on anger is when we feel a sense of injustice, like someone or something wronged us, right? Hurt us. It was like wrong. It's just a sense of, like, where did this happen, out of right or left field? Oftentimes, if we're ever, teased or bullied, that's why we're angry, because it's like, where did that come from? Why would you be so cruel and mean? I don't deserve that. I didn't do anything wrong. So a lot of times, and we've all been there, moments where we've been teased or bullied, that's one thing to be like, okay, I'm angry about this, right? And I understand why I'm angry. Like, this wasn't cool, right? Versus a disappointment. So I spelled that wrong, one S. When we're disappointed or we have a disappointment, it feels like we expected one thing, so our expectations were, we expected something to happen and they didn't happen. So our expectations were were not what we expected, and yeah, and so if we had like a disappointment, we thought something would happen, and our expectations were wrong, or not as we had hoped, right? And and so you feel this sort of sense of kind of sorry about that, kind of bummed out, right? You feel, you're disappointed, you're bummed out, you were hoping to, go to the beach, for example. For me, coming to Florida, besides seeing my family, after that, my favorite thing to do is to see the beach. And so there was a lot of disappointment when I first got here and I had one day at the beach, because of the beach closings. Understandable, but nonetheless disappointed. Wasn't really angry. That wasn't like something that was wronged and done directly to me. It was more of a disappointment, right? So really important when we're thinking about our feelings that we can recognize the difference between the different feelings, and writers, that we are not judging those feelings. Remember, we understand what their definitions are, so we can step back and go, that's right, I am actually angry about this, or I am disappointed, and I'm okay to feel this way. It's okay to be disappointed about the beach. Who wouldn't be, right? Instead of saying like, Christy, listen, there are people that are losing lives. Yes, I mean, I do think of that, and I do step back, and that's why I'm trying not to feel sorry for myself to not be at the beach, but I can allow myself to be disappointed for a little bit. And I was for an hour or two, and that realization, but I'm very thankful that I'm okay and I'm safe, and that's the most important thing. But in the end, I'm allowed to be disappointed about that. It's one of my favorite things about Florida, and it's pretty special. So writers, we're going to continue this week, and we're going to talk about the different kinds of feelings. As you're writing, really think about some of those moments that you've been having. And when you're thinking about in your writer's notebook, which I'm not going to model today probably because we're getting kind of long here, but we're thinking about some of these emotions, and then we're thinking about the moments or the stories that they kind of remind us to write about. So if we're thinking about moments where we've been angry or moments where we've been disappointed and we're writing stories, don't forget that we want to include things like action and dialogue and setting, right? In our small moments. Really important. Okay, writers, so we'll talk more tomorrow, and we'll do a little bit more writing tomorrow, really thinking about the difference between different emotions, and identifying those. And while I'm doing that, write today between now and tomorrow, maybe 2 or 3 entries, maybe a third of a page, or maybe even a whole page, really looking at some moments where you've had some strong emotion. And by the way, it doesn't have to be anger or disappointment. We have all sorts of feelings that we're going through all the time. So we know from our feeling list that it can be up feelings, down feelings, high or low energy, but many times paying attention to those feelings and writing about them in those moments when those feelings come up for us. Okay, writers, have a fabulous rest of your day. Let me stop. Have a fabulous rest of your day, and we'll see you tomorrow.